WIN event today, Women Who Inspire and Network.
So welcome to Women Inspiring Women, and WIN is truly, it's a culture of women and a group of women who really want to see each other grow and thrive in their industries.
WIN is a group of women who support each other in their business and cheer us on when there are successes and cry with us and work with us when there are challenges. WIN is a safe place to discuss those challenges because we listen. We offer advice if needed, and we pray for each other when there are challenges. I love WIN because we have these monthly sessions with fantastic people. Angela is a fantastic mentor, role model, and it's just a fantastic forum for us to learn more, and especially about ourselves and things that will help us grow our business.
So make sure you put your business card information in the chat, and be sure to save the chat before we log off so you can keep everybody's contact information. So Mary Ellen Judah is the Executive Director of Neighborhood Concepts, Inc., a Huntsville-based nonprofit committed to strengthening neighborhoods through the development of affordable housing and the advancement of economic opportunities within those communities. NCI develops affordable housing throughout the Southeast and also manages the North Alabama Revolving Loan Fund, a U.S. Treasury certified community development financial institution, or CDFI. Mary Ellen has over 30 years of experience in her chosen field working both in the nonprofit and for-profit sectors, and is well versed in nonprofit administration, affordable housing, and community development. A Huntsville resident of 32 years, she serves on the board of the Low Income Housing Coalition of Alabama, Building Alabama Reinvestment, and the community advisory boards of BBVA and Cadence Banks, as well as various local boards and committees aligned with both her profession and her interests. She is a 2017 OFN Opportunity Fellow, a National Leadership Program of the CDFI industry, and member of the Leadership Alabama Class of 28. Please welcome Mary Ellen Judah.
Welcome, Mary Ellen. What an impressive resume.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here with all of you today. I love the idea of what you guys are doing. As Abria mentioned, I've been doing this for about 30 years. And so when I started out, there was not a support system for women in business. And many of us, as I'm sure all of you, are juggling your careers, your families, and so many other things. And particularly in this time when all of us are seeing, so many disruptions in our life because of the pandemic and all the other things that are going on in the world. What a wonderful opportunity to get together and connect with each other and, share your stories and share your experience. And I loved the fact that you pray over each other. So I'm glad to be here with you today. Okay.
So let's start with finding out what led you to dive deep into the nonprofit sector, and specifically one that acts as a vehicle to create long-term sustainability within struggling communities.
It's funny, I actually came by this by accident. I was working, I just gotten married, moved to Huntsville. Shortly after we got married, I found out I was expecting our first child. My plan was to go back to school once we got married and finish my degree, but life got in the way. And so I took a job as an assistant to a gentleman here in Huntsville who did municipal finance. And I found that I wasn't challenged enough and wanted some opportunity to do a little bit more. He had been involved in the formation of Neighborhood Concepts, and they had reached a point in their growth cycle that they needed an administrator. And so I was brought on at that point in time to run the nonprofit. It was a great job for me because I had the flexibility to be a mama as well, which was so important. And then it just grew from there. But I think what I like the most about it is that we are addressing the most basic need, which is housing. Until you're stably housed, no matter what challenge you have in your life, whether it is you need to further your education, or maybe it's substance abuse, or maybe it's mental health issues, if you don't have a safe place to put your head every night, you can't begin to work on those things. And so that's what really drew this to me first, because that is in the hierarchy of needs, your shelter is the most important. And so to be able to provide that as a stepping off point for folks really appealed to me.
I know you talked about people needing housing and working with them, but what makes you so passionate about helping others?
I think it is certainly rewarding to be able to provide safe housing for someone, but the other side of our house is providing economic opportunity. And so through our loan fund, we make loans to small businesses who aren't ready for bank financing. And that has been really very rewarding to see a struggling young business who doesn't have the access to capital that they need be able to start their business or grow their business. Not only are that's where you're really helping people build wealth, because they're building equity in their business and that type of thing. So that's really, I get excited with the stories of some of our borrowers.
Yeah, I'm sure that is a lifesaver for some small businesses, because you have to have credit to get a loan and you have to have assets to get the loan, but it's like a catch-22. So I'm glad you're there. Please share more about the mission and the impact of neighborhood concepts.
So our mission is to strengthen communities through the development of affordable housing and the fostering of economic opportunity. And we do that, of course, through primarily multifamily housing development. We offer, which is really where folks need to just start out. Not everybody's ready for home ownership. And so this gives them somewhere where they can live. And, some people choose to be a renter for life. And
Mm-hmm.
The older I get, the more I think, oh, it'd be nice to call a landlord and have them come fix this. So, so the rental housing market, I think, sometimes is overlooked. We all seem to think that homeownership is the American dream, but I think just having a home should be the American dream. And so it's good to be able to provide that. We've got about 1,000 rental units in Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. We have 5 properties here in Huntsville and another one under construction in Huntsville. Some of them are senior properties, some of them are family properties. I'm very proud of the fact that we have properties in 4 of the 5 city council districts in the city of Huntsville. The only district that we don't have a property in is in North Huntsville, where there's already perhaps a over-concentration of affordable housing, but we are providing housing choice. We've got a property out in the Hampton Cove community. We've got a property in South Huntsville near Grissom High School. So families should be able to choose where they want to live and where they want their children to go to school. So I'm proud of the fact that we're able to offer some of that. But the other side of the house is the economic development. And we recognized that, strong neighborhoods need more than affordable housing. They need access to economic opportunity. But as Lillian, as you mentioned, a lot of small businesses aren't ready for bank financing because they haven't established credit yet. A lot of times a bank won't finance them because they're a new business. Restaurants in particular really struggle in getting bank financing. And so we offer an alternative that is a little more responsible than some of the other products that might be out there. That allow small businesses to access capital so they can start their business. We started the loan fund in 2014, I guess. Since then, we have deployed almost $3 million in capital. The majority of our loans, average loan size is about $35,000. So some of those food trucks that you see, that you enjoy, we've provided financing for them. Some of the food trucks that have transitioned to bricks and mortar restaurants, we've provided that financing. Lots of different kinds of small businesses. And I think the other side of it is not only the impact for that individual small business owner, but also the impact to the community and being able to locate businesses and services in underserved communities. We've provided financing for daycares that are located in low-income census tracts. One of those daycares offers nighttime daycare, which is so important for shift workers to have access to quality daycare. And so I think that's been very rewarding for me, is to see the ability to help a entrepreneur either start their business or grow their business.
Wow. Where were you when I first retired and was trying to decide what I wanted to do with the rest of my life?
Well, Lillian, that's exactly why we started, because there was nothing out there. For folks who, like you, who had an idea maybe of a business you'd like to start, but and what we found is a lot of those folks, that working capital they needed initially, they were using their personal credit cards for. And that is, a little higher interest rate, and doesn't leave you with any kind of cushion. And so, that's exactly the type of business we like to be able to help.
Now, tell us a little bit about how the North Alabama Revolving Loan Fund works. How would someone go about applying for it, and just the process?
Okay, so we offer loans from $5,000 to $250,000, and those loans can be used for business acquisition, they can be used for working capital, they can be used for inventory, leasehold improvements, furniture, fixture, and equipment. I mean, just most any business need that you might have. And we look at it the same way that a bank would look at it. I'm probably everybody knows the 5 C's of credit, where you look at the capital and you look at the credit and you look at the collateral and the character, and I can't remember the 5th one right now. But so we look at all of that, but we're not regulated. And so we have the flexibility to do what bankers used to do, which is understand where the risk is and how we mitigate against that risk. And so we will look at it and go, okay, well, the credit score is a little bit low, but this borrower has this collateral, or, the borrower has worked in this industry for years. A good example is the daycare that I mentioned. It was a low-income minority female who had worked in the daycare industry all of her life, and she had a dream of opening her own daycare. And so she knew everything about running a daycare. She just didn't have the capital, and we were able to provide that to her. So we have an application. It's online on our website, neighborhoodconcepts.org. There is an application fee that covers, I think it's $150, covers the credit reports and so forth. And then we typically try and structure those loans. It's risk rated based upon the risk, but I'd say probably, a maximum interest rate of 10%. Which is a little high, but if you're able to get bank financing, we encourage you to go get bank financing. We do a fixed rate loan. We think that's very important, that every month what your monthly payment's going to be. And we have the ability to be patient. So maybe it's a startup business. We might just do interest only for the first 6 months until the business really can start performing. And that's, I guess, in a nutshell, a little bit about how it works.
In addition to providing loans for small businesses or housing for the community, what other support or resources do you offer for these small businesses that are just starting to launch?
So one thing we realized pretty early on is that entrepreneurs have a certain skill set and are passionate about what they do, but they don't necessarily like bookkeeping, or they don't necessarily understand how to grow the business. They've got all these great ideas. And so we provide some business technical assistance to help them kind of figure out how to structure things, how to grow SMART. And those are typically done at no cost. At some point in time, you can enter into an agreement with us where you get a little more robust delivery of services. But we also, I mean, we can do that at the very beginning. A lot of times we'll ask for a business plan as part of your application, but a lot of folks don't know how to put their business plan together. And so we can assist with that and the application preparation as well.
Everybody loves a good story, Mary Ellen. So tell us about a success story or two.
Oh gosh, there's so many of them. I've already shared about the woman of color who we helped open that daycare. And if you could have been there the day that we did the ribbon cutting ceremony to see the pride on her face, that was just incredible. But I like to share two stories. Well, yeah, I'll share two. Sometimes I like to share three, but two stories. They were some of our first borrowers. One was a lady who made frozen cornbread muffins, and she was working with the Shoals Entrepreneurial Center, and she was using her credit cards. I think she was a dental hygienist, but she was using her personal credit cards to fund her operations. She needed working capital, and she needed a piece of equipment to make her more efficient. And so we provided both of those loans to her. So she had a machine that would drop exactly 4 ounces of batter into each thing as it went by. And then we gave her the working capital. She was ultimately able to be in all the Publix grocery stores as well as Walmart, paid us off early. So, I mean, just poster child for the best first loan you could make to help us share our story. The next loan we made was to a young man who had a food truck, and he wanted to do some modifications to his food truck that would allow him to serve hot foods. And so we offered that loan to him, and he was a young guy. And we asked him, and we said, you know, as part of the application, we're going to need your balance sheet and your profit and loss statement. And he kind of looked at us funny, and we tried to explain it to him. He said, well, I use Square, you know, which is the little thing you swipe credit cards with. And I said, and is that all you're doing? And he said, yes. And so we said, well, as a condition of making the loan, we're going to have monthly financial statements from you. And we have a QuickBooks Pro on staff. We did at the time. And you come in and meet with her, and she'll help you with that. So he kind of grumbled about it. In the first few months he came in, he wasn't very happy about it, but this was a covenant of his loan. But like the 4th month, he stopped by my office and he said, you know what my cost of goods sold was this month? And I thought, oh yes, you get it. You understand that these financial statements are for you, not for us. And then we went on to help him as he wrote proposals to handle the commissary at some of the larger businesses. We helped him write those proposals. He was getting ready to start bottling his sauces, and we helped him with that. He had some personal issues that required him to shut down his business. And so it's still a good story in a couple ways. One, he was moving back home to Texas, and he said, I promise I'm going to pay back the rest of this loan. And we thought, well, we're probably not going to see the rest of this, but he did. He sent us checks. It took him a couple years, but he ultimately paid off his loan. And the last we heard from him is, you know, I'm getting my life back together, and I'm planning on doing this again once I do. So I think that was still a good story for us. And it's the relationship that we built with him that I think is the reason that he honored his commitment to repay that loan.
All right, well, what is the biggest takeaway you feel for small business owners when they work with you?
I think the biggest thing we try to instill in them is to grow smart, to take their time and really think through what they want to do, and to do their market analysis beforehand. I still think it's a win when someone comes in and they're like, oh, I want to borrow $100,000. I've got this great idea. I'm going to put a bakery in South Huntsville. And you work with them and you say, okay, well, who else is doing that in South Huntsville? Oh, well, there's nobody. There's nobody doing it. Well, what about Publix? You can get a birthday cake there. Oh, mine are going to be so much better. But that's still another option. And so, and I'm speaking of a specific person that we worked with, and they ultimately, they came back and they said, you're right, we're not ready. We need to do a little more analysis. So I think that's important. Do your homework, really understand your market. I think in today's environment, really understand your market as to how you can adapt your business to COVID-19. I am more and more concerned about the retail world and whether or not it's going to survive COVID. And we've been really excited to see the restaurants who are in our portfolio adapt and figure out ways to continue doing their services. But that's important. Make sure you kind of know your backup plan.
Okay, how can business owners share your mission?
Gosh, just tell people about us. You know, that would be wonderful. I think what you guys are doing, meeting as a group, is so important for small businesses. We do occasionally have some peer networks that we put together and facilitate. And that's really important because I don't need to tell you how to run your business, and I don't know how to run your business, but you guys all may be doing different things, but you're probably having a lot of the same hurdles and obstacles and challenges, and having somebody to bounce those off of, and also having somebody to share your wins with. I think that's really important.
Okay, now you told us about other services you offer and that I think are fantastic for the small businesses. Do you accept volunteers or mentors to help your businesses?
You know, so Lillian, right now we don't have a large volunteer program, primarily because we're small staffed and it does take some time to administer that, but it's certainly something that we are interested in pursuing, because there are so many folks out there that want to help and who have skill sets and knowledge that we don't. We offer financial education classes at all of our properties, and that is with a partnership with one of the local banks that delivers those programs. But when you mentioned that, I can't help but think that there aren't some residents who would love to have a mentor to kind of sit down with them with their personal budget and really help them make a plan. So those are things that, you know, I'd love to pursue. I'd love to pursue attaching putting together a mentor with a small business to kind of help them kind of grow along as well. We are always looking for board members, and certainly I would love to see more females on our board. We also have an advisory committee for the loan fund. They provide kind of direction for what we want to do as new programs and new products, but they also approve loans over a certain amount cannot be approved internally by staff. And so there's always opportunities there as well if folks are interested in serving on either our board or our advisory committee.
What's the time frame of the entire process, like when business owners are looking for obtaining a loan with you guys? And at what stage should we contact you guys?
Okay, so I'm going to start with the second part of your question.
Mm-hmm.
It's never too soon to give us a call. We have had some instances where folks come to us and, you know, that the egg has already been cracked and it's in the frying pan and it's kind of too late. You know, they decided to sign a lease and they're going to remodel this whole building and they think it's going to cost $20,000 and they've got $20,000, and then they get into the rehab and they find out, oh, well, they need a new air conditioner, or they need this, or their lease says they have to do this. And so they come to us at that point in time for additional financing. So I think it's important to come, you know, as early as you can. We've got a person on staff that's what they do, is they do business development, working with you from the day you think, you know, you might want to apply for a loan, helping you develop that business plan, helping you getting your application together. So it's never too soon. And we may come back and say, here's your homework. Once you've accomplished these things, you know, might take about 6 months and then we'll be ready to make a loan. But I think any time is a good time to go ahead and reach out. And as far as the time frame, we try and give a fairly quick decision. Some of it depends upon the size of the loan. If the loan exceeds $50,000, advisory committee has to approve that. So we need a little additional time for them to schedule that and handle that. But I like to think that from the time we have a complete application, all the materials that we've requested, we can typically get you a decision in 2 weeks or so. Outside would be a month. It just depends upon, what we see when we start looking at the application.
Over the past 30 years, or let's say just in the past 10 years, because more and more people are wanting to start their own business. Nobody wants to do a 9-to-5 anymore, or as Les Brown calls it, the 40-40-40 plan. You work 40 hours a week for 40 years to retire at 40% of your salary. So over the last 10 years, how many businesses would you think that you have assisted?
We didn't start the loan fund until 2014, I believe, is when we made our first loan. So we've been making loans for about 6 years. I would say we've probably made 100 loans so far, so 100 small businesses. But we've probably also seen another 150 or so that maybe didn't get financing from us, or maybe we said, oh gosh, you can get bank financing, here, go to the bank, or that kind of thing. And I also think some of the reach and impact has not been just on the number of loans, but the number of people that have been employed, either new jobs or jobs that are retained, as well as the services locating in some of these communities.
We support businesses in North Alabama.
Our small business lending is the 11 counties of North Alabama. We just feel like that's a market we know better, and we think that the ability to pop into the business if they need some help or they just need a friendly face is really important, and is really kind of one of the keys to the success of the program. So, we just felt like we need to keep them closer to home so that we can have that high touch with.
How many of the people who are part of your housing group would you say are also small business owners?
Probably not very many. Probably not very many. Now, because our programs, our housing programs are for folks at incomes of 60% or below the area median income. What we do see a lot of, folks who work in the service industry, a lot of folks who work in the retail industry, and they've been hit hard because of COVID-19. Either they lost their jobs, they were laid off for an extended period of time, or they've been brought to work but not at a full capacity. I love the idea of synergy between the two programs, between our two business lines. So we offered entrepreneurial training at one of our properties a couple years ago. We had a lady who worked at a restaurant who wanted to open her own catering business. We had our site manager makes delicious cakes, and she wanted to learn how to do that. So what we found through that kind of that little exercise is that we've got a couple people who have some what my children call side hustles.
Do you ever find that some of your small business owners, regardless of where they live, are sometimes more of that hobbyist where they think that they want to be a business, and then through your program they realize that it's not really what they thought they wanted?
I think so. I mean, I think we do see that. And I think we've all had those moments. I mean, like I remember folks raving about my pimento cheese, and I was like, oh, I should start selling pimento cheese. And then when I started thinking about the chemistry involved in taking, pimento cheese to feed my family and packaging it so it's safe on the shelves, I thought, oh, I'm not interested in that. So yes, I think that does happen quite a bit. And I think it is, we've had folks who've come to us and said, I want to open a restaurant. I'm a great cook. I want to open a restaurant. Have you ever worked in the restaurant industry? No. Well, we'd encourage you to go get a job at a restaurant for a while before and then they'll come back and go, oh, this is hard. I didn't realize I'd have to be there Friday nights till midnight, or I'd have staff, who wait staff who are not maybe the most dependable folks. So yeah, I think that does happen a lot. And we will do a participation loan where, this entity loans them half of it and we loan them half of it. We will subordinate. Maybe the financial institution says we can only do 100,000 because of the loan to value. We can come behind it with the other 50 or whatever. So yeah, we are certainly interested in partnerships.
If someone defaults on a loan, how do you handle something like that? How do you write it off or whatever you do?
So we take collections pretty seriously because our ability to maintain a good bottom line allows us to continue to offer services to others. And so we require any business owner who owns 20% or more of the business to personally guarantee the loan. When we can get collateral, we take collateral, but we also have the ability to modify loans if we need to. I think it's all about open communication. We treat everybody the same and treat everybody fairly, but we don't have a bank regulator coming in and questioning every decision, and so we can be a little more flexible. We've had businesses who have said, listen, our growth is not what we thought it was going to be. Well, okay, we'll modify the loan and let's term it out a little bit longer so your payment is more manageable until you get there. But we may come back and say, but it's going to mature in 2 years with a balloon, because by then we think you can get bank financing, and we'll help you get bank financing to us by foundations. And some of it we've borrowed and we have to repay it. So we take that pretty seriously.
Okay, now you said in a little while you're going to be the proud owner of, so once you repossess this or take ownership of it, you recoup your costs?
And so we found an auction company who took it and then they auctioned it off and we received a percentage of it. What we weren't able to collect, we charged off that part of the loan, so that we try and use third parties to take care of the liquidation of the collateral.
If your husband has been your seed money to get your small business off the ground, and you're like, how do you separate your personal finances from your business finances?
And it's not unusual for a small business to have the lines crossed between personal financials and business financials. So we have certainly seen that before. In a lot of instances, the husband and wife are both officers or members, have ownership in that small business. What you want to do is you'd want to capture that equity that you already have in the business to show, you've got some skin in the game. And so the way to do that, depending upon, how a friend's spouse might look at things, it could be a soft loan from them, or it could be a gift.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. You have given us so much information. It was so interesting, and now we have another resource to help ourselves and our friends, which is what WIN is all about: women who inspire and